Hello, welcome to Women in Ministry. My names are Pastor Mrs. Agnes BC Daka, Senior Pastor for Women in Ministry for PLG Vessels of Mercy here in Kitwe. I'm going to talk to you about women in ministry. Women have contributed much to the ministry of the church throughout its history. However, their role in this area has never been free from controversy. Today, most church bodies are discussing the place of women in their ministries. Crucial to these discussions for many of us are the matters of faithful biblical interpretation. Join me this afternoon as we discuss the same under the title Women in Ministry. This is a group of different women coming from across the globe and also coming from different professions. These are Christians serving the Lord in their different institutions. Of course, we also have some credentialed women of God as well. Our target group in this discussion, of course, as you can see from the screen, we have women that are Christians who have a personal relationship with our Lord Jesus Christ. And these women are members of a recognized Christian church or ministry. And they are coming from all races, tribes, and people groups. These are women that are already holding leadership position. And also wives of ministers of the gospel. These are also part of our target group. And female credentialed ministers are part of our target group as well. Our vision in this particular presentation is to raise mentors through women in the ministry for the next generation. Whatever we are doing, whoever is in leadership today, we are raising you for ministry, even in the next generation. Here's an example of mentorship in style from a grandmother. What do we learn from this woman in terms of ministry, especially when it comes to saving souls? Grandmothers, are we able to learn something from them? Are we able to learn something from the older sisters? Yeah. Our mission is to strengthen women in ministry through networking, fellowship, and empowerment. Here's an example of a women group under the Pentecostal Assemblies of God, Zambia. We have the KBBKs in UCZ. We have the Mothers Union in Anglican. Yeah, we have different women groups that are offering support. The purpose for all this is that we may have fellowship, network, equip, empower, understanding the core, and mentorship. These are the topics that we will discuss in this course. Number one, fellowship, according to Psalm 133. How good and pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together. Fellowship enhances, in terms of fellowship, we are enhancing fellowship amongst the members. Yeah, Hebrews 10:25, that people may be able to meet with one with the other from time to time and not avoid meeting. The next thing under fellowship is that we are promoting unity and that we may be able to share all things in common. They had all things in common like the early church. At the place of fellowship, we'll be able to share. Yeah. And we'll also be able to strengthen the church in our zones and also in our communities and cities through our regular fellowship. And it will also promote openness to others for encouragement and spiritual strengthening. People will feel or will have a sense of belonging because of fellowship. Other activities that we are involved in are prayer meetings, revival meetings, business review meetings, seminars and workshops, which are relevant to the core, and also national retreats, and where we engage with society according to the need. In networking, an example of networking is this organization, which can be maybe a telecommunication company, yeah, or even at some database or something somewhere where computers are connected to each other and people are able to work in one place, but being able to draw information and strengths one from the other. This can be a very good example of networking even in the church. There are scriptures there that support networking. 1 Corinthians 13:9, Ephesians 4:16, Matthew 4:18 to 20, and Philippians 6. The second part of networking is that we have, in that picture, we have people from different professions getting together as global leaders to be able to discuss, to get together to discuss one common goal, to be able to see a difference in our time that will affect the next generation as we equip one another and sharpen one another's skills. Yeah, we help members to define themselves in their calling and also promote exchange of ministries. Imagine all those that are there, the medical doctors, the lawyers, and everyone being able to do an exchange of ministry. We'll really have hope for tomorrow. The third point is equipping. When it comes to women in ministry, we are also supposed to get together to a place where we equip one another to promote various teachings in the word, sharpen various skills, learn from strengths of others, and also encourage holistic ministry at the place of equipping one another. Number 4, we come to a place of empowerment according to Proverbs chapter 6 and verse 6, where we learn from the ants. We introduce programs that will help ministers in their various locations to be able to get maybe financial empowerment, teach various skills, introduce various projects, mobilize financial support, and also have spiritual empowerment through the word, etc. Point number 5, we need to understand the core. According to Jeremiah chapter 1 verse 9, chapter 1 from verse 1 to 19, you organize relevant teachings, because when you understand the core, you'll be able to know what your strengths are and that you'll be able to go out and share what you have. Mobilize prophetic and apostolic ministry, help members to define themselves and position themselves as they apply themselves for meaningful results. This is when you understand the core, then you'll be able to assert yourselves in this manner so that you get what is necessary and be able to give out also to others that may not have exactly what you have. In all this, we need also as ministers to understand that it may not be easy, but we have ministerial challenges. And in those ministerial challenges, we realize that the female clergy find it very difficult to break through the ranks of leadership, especially in those positions that are dominated by the male. And the second thing is the female ministers have challenges in being accepted as by members to be able to head ministries or even churches. They would rather there's a male figure, and we have challenges even in different communities today. And then the third aspect that we have as a ministerial challenge amongst the women ministers is that those that are married, sometimes the spouses would not want to just submit to their leadership, or maybe recognize that this is the one that is heading the ministry and I'm supposed to submit to them. But there are those challenges, and it's when you gather at a place like this one that you'll be able to get wisdom and encourage and help one another to be able to know how to, with wisdom, be able to encourage our husbands to support our ministry. The fourth point there is dealing with systems and structures that give a female minister the second position. There are systems, there are structures that would not just allow a woman to take the topmost position, but they would always want to keep them in the second position, even if they qualify. But how do we do it? It's when we engage those that are running the different ministries, or begin to address the systems, begin to address the structures that are there, in order for women to also be given an opportunity to lead, be given an opportunity to also be able to give guidance and help institutions because they qualify. These are ministerial challenges, but we recognize them and we can be able to address them accordingly. What about the single female ministers? Yes, they have challenges as well. Most of them have a challenge where they need to deal with their self-esteem. They feel they're inadequate because they are alone in ministry and they need to be encouraged. And then we also find that the single female ministers also need to work hard and win trust of the members. And for you to be able to win the trust of the members is when you become very open and make sure that there are no gray matters around you, so that people can be able to trust you, especially with the male members, because there are some male members that would be interested because of the way you look and would want to have a chance with you, or maybe some female ministers just fail to control themselves and end up throwing themselves everywhere. But we are saying you as female ministers, they can also be able to win the trust of other members. And these are challenges on their part where we need to come in those that are strong to help them and give guidance one with the other. And then we also want to encourage the single ministers to be strong in their stand, so that they avoid any form of speculation in any way. They need to be strong, assert themselves to avoid any speculations. And they also need to observe ministerial ethics in whatever they do, so that their testimony is not questioned, their ministry is not suspected. Even in whatever they are doing, they are encouraged and strengthened. These are challenges, but they can be able to come out strong. And we are saying, as single female ministers, they also need to live an open life, an open door policy, an open life in their homes and even in their service for the Lord. Yeah. The fifth point is when we come to mentorship, according to Deuteronomy chapter 39, verse 9 to 12, we realize that we need to identify and involve role models in our various spheres. We have in ministry those that have gone ahead of us. We can always involve them as they offer mentorship amongst us. Those that are into business, yes, they are running successful businesses. Others are involved in cross-border businesses. Others have gone into other continents far from where they are, and they've been able to succeed in ministry and in business. We can always call upon them to be able to offer mentorship even in our midst. There are those that have been married for a long time, yes, 30, 40, they are about. We can learn one or two things from them, how they've kept their marriages, how their marriages are still ticking, and a number of things that they've been able to overcome through their marriage, through their times of marriage, where we can also come out strong. These can offer mentorship in the midst of women in ministry. We also have those that are good home managers, because our homes are supposed to be examples in their outlook and just in the way we manage them. So we can learn from those that have gone ahead of us, who have been very good home managers, their skill, their secrets. Yeah, we can learn from them. And then those that are parents, we have those that are grandparents. Some of them are not yet grandparents, but they have been able to come out good in the area of parenting spiritually, and their children are educated, they are settled. How have they managed? We can also approach those for mentorship. So when it comes to mentorship, we can do it in so many ways. Sometimes it's a group discussion. Sometimes it's arranged on a one-on-one or group mentorship sessions where somebody comes in to speak. Or we can also promote mentorship workshops where we can sit down with these people that have gone ahead of us, and they'll be able to teach us. They can teach us during a national retreat. They can teach us during our monthly meetings. They can teach us in our quarterly meetings. These are programs that we can incorporate as we learn or as we dwell together as women in ministry. In conclusion, there will be an explosion in our ministry if we begin to do things in this way as women in ministry. Not only will our ministries explode, but even our churches, they will grow. Apart from that, you find that there will also be an increase in resources. Remember, your gifting will make room for you. When people begin to see you defined, well defined, and you are moving in a certain direction, they'll bring in their resources because they know they can trust you. And sometimes people will bring in their resources because they see that you have a need and they can come in to complement your ministry. It's when you are well defined and when people understand what you are doing that they will come in to help. So resources will increase. And then because your members have been equipped, you are also equipped, you understand what you're supposed to do. Yes, resources will come in because everyone that who is within where you are working from will bring in whatever they have to complement your efforts and to make sure that your ministry flourishes. Apart from that, it will also give you an opportunity to be able to network with others. Why? Because they know what you have. They've seen your success. They've seen how your ministry has grown. They've seen your level of influence, and they will come in and request for you to go into their ministry and offer your expertise and offer your experience and be able to learn from you because you have what it takes. Then the next point there will be that because you are growing, and through all this, you are growing and you are maturing. You are able to learn from experience. You are able to stop doing certain things. You begin to grow in mature leadership. This offers some kind of growth. This offers some kind of leadership that people can be able to trust on. It will not be child leadership, but they will know that we are learning from somebody who has been there, somebody who has it, somebody who is mature. This brings growth in mature leadership. Apart from that, as we are concluding, it also brings successful levels for soul winning. It brings successful levels for soul winning. Why? Because when people see what you are doing, even those that do not have Christ will come in and say, I want to be a part of you. And as they come in, you give them Christ. As they come in, you share the message of salvation to them. As they come in, they'll be able to settle. Why? Because you have attracted them. What else that will attract levels of successful levels for soul winning? When you go out into a community and you introduce yourself, because you are already a success story, people will be able to buy into what you are giving them. And it's up to you to package the message of salvation properly that people may come in and be a part of what you are doing. I want to just thank you for all of you that have been part of the presentation, and I believe you've learned one or two things and you go out and apply yourselves. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Oh, that's great, Pastor Mrs. Agnes Daka. But before you go, I would just love for you to explain. Here is a young minister, a young woman in ministry, sometimes untrained and cut and the like, and they would like to actually be where you are. How did you start? How did you find yourself where you are? How difficult was it for you to navigate through all these challenges that you share with us here? Would you just maybe run us through that?
Okay, I'll give you a brief testimony. Somewhere in 1994, I joined, or I was voted into office as one of the office bearers in our region. I was in charge of the Copperbelt district as a secretary. But before then, I grew within the church as just an ordinary member of women ministry. I loved prayer. I loved God. I was always in fellowship. I loved to read the word of God, and I availed myself for service. I availed myself for service for things as low as sweeping the church when there was nobody else who felt that they needed to sweep the church. Imagine a whole church. I would just be available to go in there, sweep the church, arrange the chairs, and just be happy to see everybody coming into church and settling down comfortably. Then the next thing that I also enjoyed doing, just as an ordinary member, was being in prayer meetings. In every meeting that was given, I always wanted to be there and be part of what was happening in the church fraternity. And then as I grew in the things of God and continued to give God my time, he also opened an opportunity for me to be able to serve him as one of the leaders in the districts, which is a region in our community. And in that district, I was secretary. Apart from being secretary, I knew that I was a role model and people were looking up to me. So I made sure that I managed my home well. I was a good wife and also a very good Christian, committed to my God, apart from the office that I held. And from time to time, looked for opportunities to render service in my community beyond the Pentecostal Assemblies of God. Wherever I was interested to be part of whatever was happening. I was there during times of funerals. I was there during the time of helping the needy. I was there during the time of visiting the sick in hospital. I was there during the time of any activity that demanded my presence as a Christian. So I grew through all these, and then later the Lord entrusted me with the national responsibility, and I took up office as the vice national director at some point, where I served for a few years as at the national level, where I offered oversight in women ministry, and I also became a voice in the national affairs because I was interested in things that were happening around me. And then much later, I also joined the ministry among pastors, Kito Pastors Fellowship. I was their general secretary there, and also got involved in community work. Then much later, I was entrusted with a church which I'm now pastoring as a senior pastor under Vessels of Mercy, under the Pentecostal Assemblies of God. And I still remain a voice and also a one that is interested in my community. I just want to be available and just render service where the Lord gives me an opportunity. So from my life, you are able to tell that it started as low as just sweeping the church, as low as just being an ordinary member, as low as just being one that attended fellowship all the time, and that grew over a period of time to be where I am today. Thank you.
That's interesting. And I know you are part of the Bootstrap Leadership Institute. But before we get to that one, I understand your husband, Mr. Dixon Daka, I like to call him DD, is the elder for the church that you are pastoring. And in your presentation, you talked about how how the male spouses, how sometimes they would look down on the female or the woman in ministry who is heading the church. Would you share how you work, the two of you being the pastor, the senior pastor, and then Didi, your husband, being the elder in the church? How does it work?
I want to say this. My husband, behind the scenes, in all this that I have said, was one person that helped me to pray, was one person that helped me to read the Word of God, was one person that would push me to have fellowship at some point, was one person that stood with me through and through. And later, as I grew through the different levels of development and even in ministry to get to where I am today, my husband has been an elder in the Pentecostal Assemblies of God in the different denominations where we have been. But when it came to full-time ministry, he recognized that I was called and he gave me the support. Those people that know my testimony when it comes to service for the Lord, the different places and continents where I have gone out to go and do ministry, he's been my support. He's been there to provide and help me. And to an extent where today, when I'm now pastoring a church, he has no problem with being an elder in the church and support me in ministry. Why? Because he also recognizes his lane. He's a very good teacher of the word. He's into prayer. and is very good at helping to ground when it comes to discipleship. So he offers that strength comfortably as an elder in the church and complements me in ministry. When it comes to recognizing my office as a pastor, he will sit there and submit and also be able to remind people out there that this is the pastor and we are members. And you know what, on a lighter note, when he goes out, as we've seen a lot of pastors' wives introduce themselves as pastors' wives, my husband will always go out and introduce himself as the pastor's husband. That's how funny he is, but he's accepted it and supported me. And I'm grateful to God, and I don't take that for granted. He still remains my husband. He still remains my head at home. And when it comes to ministry, I'm not all over him, but I also respect and value his contribution in the area of ministry.
Oh, we praise the Lord. And I know for real, apart from the other lecturers that come on to Bootstrap Leadership Institute who are female, you are one of the figureheads. You actually happen to be the director of the institute, and on the probably the management team, if I may call it like that. I look around and find you are the only woman on that team. How do you manage? Don't you feel intimidated by the men that would want to actually lord it over you? Or how do you manage to navigate with the Bootstrap Leadership Institute? Under 3 minutes that you have before we end the program.
Well, the Lord has helped me. I'm able to say the Lord has really helped me, because in women ministry and where I'm coming from, we realized that we submitted to the men. We were able to give reports to those that were ahead of us. And in submitting to the men, I learned how to relate with the men over a period of time. Yes, I belong to different organizations and I work with male figures. When it came to Bootstrap, I think that was not a problem. All I needed to do was recognize my lane, recognize my position, and being able to bring in the strength and complement the efforts of those that were there, the men, and also, the men that I'm working with. At times, yes, when you look at certain positions and maybe their level of influence, their exposure, you tend to get intimidated, but then you need to assert yourself and not be all over them. Being open-minded, learn from them, being open-minded, being able to offer your strength to those that you feel need your strength, and being able also to know that you are well surrounded by these men who mean well. They are not there to fight you. They are not there to take away what belongs to you, but they are there to complement one another. And I enjoy working with the Bootstrap team. These are men of experience, men that understand their role, men that have supported me, men that have just been there for ministry. And it's a very good team to work with. I've enjoyed all of them. I've enjoyed. Yeah.
All right. You have 1 minute to just tell us about the course that is running now, how you have migrated from physical classes to your online classes that are happening now. And I can see that you're actually advertising for the 100% fully sponsored courses. Under 1 minute, you can tell us about that.
Yeah, we have a course that is running right now, which is media ministry. We want to encourage people out there. You realize that with the with the advent of COVID-19, a lot of meetings are a lot of churches are failing to meet, and as a result, we need to continue to do ministry. And if we are going to do the work of ministry, how do we do it? We need to find another way of doing it, and virtual ministry is good. So Bootstrap is offering a virtual media ministry where we are training ministers to be on how they can be able to go online and bring their programs there. It started, we are still enrolling, and the program started this week actually. So we are still enrolling, and those that feel that they want to be a part of it and reach a wider group across, you're not just teaching your church members, but you are going across. When it comes to global influence, this gives you an opportunity. Depending on the platforms that you are using, why don't you come in and get trained even through Bootstrap. We are offering this course over a period of time, and I think it will run for about 6 months, where you have evening online sessions for the next 6 months. And all we are asking for is your presence, because these classes are 100% sponsored. It's free. Imagine you cannot get it free in certain institutions, but here it is free. For 6 months, just make yourself available. Get those bundles, sit and learn from experienced lecturers with good with good instruction, and at the same time experienced lecturers that will also avail themselves to just be there and guide you through, so that you can have successful media ministry. Thank you so much.
Well, I want to thank you all. This was Pastor Mrs. Agnes BC Daka, who happens to be the director for the Bootstrap Leadership Institute. And we have a number of programs that are running. We'll be advertising most of them right now, beginning now, going forward. Right now, there's a program that is running on media ministry. So we are teaching people, we are training your media team, we are training senior pastors, bishops, and leaders of ministries on how they can actually take advantage of the media, the technology, so you can reach a wider section of people. Other than that, we have our LDD, Leadership Development and Discipleship Program. We are still enrolling and would be glad to actually offer you a seat. We still have some seats that are available for the text, and these courses are 100% tuition free. Someone has already paid for them, and like the director said, all that is needed from your side is your presence. You need to be present. We are not going to ask you to leave your home and your business and your family. We'll ask you to just create time and be there as and when you are needed. God bless you. This is your friend and brother, Justin Likuka, behind the scenes, trying to work with my director, making sure that things happen. Shalom, shalom. Let it be well.